Welcome back to the Joyful Mate podcast. I'm your host, Anthony Hartcher, your Joyful Journey mentor. Last week, we discussed the three C's. Let me revisit what the three C's are. The three C's are contrast, comparison, connection. And what I was talking about is how we perceive the world through contrast. So we need a contrast in order to perceive anything through our senses, such as if we had the same sound frequency going into both ears, we wouldn't hear anything because there's no contrast. Same with our eyes. If we're in a completely black room, we don't see anything. If we're in a completely white room, we don't see anything. We need a contrast in order to perceive through our senses. And then in order to actually integrate that information or to interpret that information, we compare. We compare the information we're receiving to what we know, what we already have experienced, what we have learnt. And so when we're doing that comparison, we draw parallels or similarities, and we're thinking, okay, I understand, I get it, I can take it further, I can go with the information further. Or we think, oh no, I can't draw a parallel, I can't draw any similarities, I'm not really following, I don't really get it. And so the option is to either keep trying to understand through what you know, or obviously what you're perceiving needs to be further examined through a different lens in terms of shared in a different way, or asking questions to better understand what you're perceiving. And then we either going to relate to it and connect with it, or we won't relate to it and we disconnect. And this is what happens when we interact with humans or anything, is that if we interpret what they're saying and connect with it and understand it, then we're connected. We relate to what they're saying. If we have an association with what they're sharing as a form of judgment, then if the judgment's positive, then we'll reinforce what they're doing or reinforce what they're saying and agree with them. If the judgment is not so good based on your experiences, in terms of you're perceiving it as, no, what you're doing is not any good, then what we do is we feel uneasy, uncomfortable, and we'll let them know that, hey, no, that's wrong. You shouldn't do that. You can't do that. And therefore we continue to perceive the world the same because it's reflecting what we already know. So the challenge is that all these past judgments is limiting our ability to expand our conscious awareness and our perceptions. If we let go of judgments and see the world more as it is through a more open lens, what we tend to do is we expand our conscious awareness, we grow. And so this is one of the challenges in life, is that if we keep judging, we keep narrowing our lens and we see the world from a very narrow perspective. And therefore, we feel more and more disconnected, that the world we're seeing is unfair because we have so many unfair associations. And the only way we can, I guess, overwrite that and see the world as it is, or broaden our lens is probably a better concept, is we need to go beyond judgment. We need to see it as it is. And the only way we can do that is look for what we're not seeing. That requires an open-minded, being open-minded. And it also requires being calm, this relaxed nervous system, because when we're exploring the other side, we're exploring the unknown, and that can be unsettling. So we need to calm the nervous system. We need to be in a calm space in order to explore this other side that we're not seeing. And once we start to explore the other side, our nervous system calms down. We become more at peace. We more see the wholeness in the situation as opposed to the judgments that we passed. And if we pass a judgment, it invokes a valence, either positive or negative. So we get a polarized view, and we maintain that until we are willing to look at the wholeness of the situation. And so in order to better connect with one another and better connect with the world, we need to can approach it with an open mind as opposed to a closed mind, which is judgment, being judgmental. And the only way we can do that is understand what unsettles us, what makes us a bit agitated or unsettled, we don't feel comfortable with. And then, because that emotion's been evoked, we know that there's been an assigned valency to what you're concerned about or what you've passed judgment on. And what we need to do is then step back and explore what we're not seeing. And the best way of doing that is going to moments where you've passed that judgment and you've labeled something, and go back to that moment and look at the other side, look at the opposite. And the opposite's there in every moment. The wholeness is there in every moment. It's just the moment we pass judgment, we narrow our lens and we get a narrow perspective, and we take away an emotion assigned to that narrow perspective. And we then continue to see the world through that lens, which is getting more and more narrow if we choose to continue to judge as this is good and this is bad. The world is as it is, and you are as you are. We'll see the world as we are, as opposed to as it is, based on our experiences. And so what I'm opening you up to is that this comparison that we go through when we're trying to relate to information that we're perceiving is going to be compared with what we know, and compared to the past and our past experiences and our intellect in terms of facts and how we've observed the world from past lens. And what we want to be doing in that moment is, if we are feeling some sort of judgment in terms of what we're perceiving, then we need to ask ourselves, what is it that I'm not seeing about this? What is the other side? We need to get curious about the other side, explore the other side, and so that we can then see the whole picture and see it as it is, because it's balanced. Everything is conserved in space and time, the law of conservation. And so this applies to every situation, every moment in time. However, as I said, we perceive the world through contrast, and then we, comprehend, try to interpret or relate to what we're perceiving through comparison, what we already know, and we draw a connection or draw a disconnection. We'll draw a disconnection when we're judging or labeling, and we'll draw a connection when we're seeing it as it is. And then we have, a stronger connection with that person, a stronger connection with what we're observing, whether it be the nature or something or some event. We will better understand it. We'll better see the wholeness in it. We'll be able to extract meaning and purpose from what's happened. But we can't do it once we've judged, because we've assigned a valence, we're polarized, we are going to then look for supportive information and other people that support that view to support our ego, in essence. And so we can get quite egotistical about our point of view and look for information that supports us, as opposed to seeing the wholeness in the situation. There's an equal and opposite force there, and we need to look at that and better understand that. And the way in which you can do that is look at it from that lens, look at it from that perspective, and start to better understand it through asking questions and being curious. I think curiosity is one way in which you can broaden your lens and see the world as it is, as opposed to seeing it as you are. And you can grow and expand the more you have this curiosity, and the more you want to explore what you're not seeing, the unknown, step into the unknown. There's a bit of uncertainty, there's a bit of fear in there, and a bit of letting go of your ego. But when you do that, you really start to see people as they are, and you start to see events as they are, and you have more appreciation for the world as it is, and more appreciation for people for who they are. And that is magic. When you can respect someone for who they are, no matter what they do, that is the ultimate connection. And then when you're doing that more often, you have a greater connection with more and more people, and you feel more connected as a result of that. It's the same as the world at large. You have a much greater appreciation for the world and the actual order in the world when we look for it. Otherwise, we can choose to look for chaos and choose to look for disorder and disharmony. There is an opposing force, and it's always there. Harmony's always there. Order's always there. And so it's just what we choose to focus on expands. And when we choose to focus on one side, that expands, and we're looking for more supportive information to stroke our ego. If we start to think, okay, what am I not seeing? What's the other side? And explore the other side, you'll start to see the wholeness in the situation. You'll start to see the balance. You'll start to see the meaning. You'll be able to extract the meaning from the situation as opposed to labeling it as good or bad and passing judgment. And that judgment will continue to pass through your life, because if you don't dissolve previous judgment, then you'll take that forward and continue to see the world through this narrow lens that gets more and more narrow. And then you get more and more frustrated, irritable, and it drives your you lose your emotional health, because there's so many things that can invoke your emotions, because you've allowed this polarization to, I guess, shroud your judgment or cloud the way you see things. You can see clarity for the way the world is if we choose to explore the wholeness in everything, in everyone, and in every situation. So I hope this is helping in terms of better understanding how we relate to one another and how we can better relate to the world and feel more connected. When we feel more connected, we feel a sense of unity, and that unity is such a unifying force, or such a beautiful sense that everything is meant to be as it is, and people are who they are, and that's wonderful. And you just get this greater appreciation, and you experience more love, gratitude, and more fulfillment through expanding the way in which you're looking at the world, expanding your lens. If you're needing some help to better comprehend what I'm saying, then please reach out. Please let me know what you're not understanding. I will share it in a different way that relates to you, or that you can understand it. If you're needing help in any of these past judgments that you've experienced and you can't see the other side, then please reach out. This is the work I do. This is how I help people, is to help them see the wholeness in life, to help them love one another as the people are, and help people to better appreciate the world for as it is, and have more gratitude and love for the world and people around us. So please reach out if you're needing help in this space. If you're feeling very emotional and feeling that emotional regulation's out of your control, and that you do not understand how you cannot judge and you can govern your emotions, then please reach out if you want improved emotional health. I'm here to help you in 2026. And until next time, continue to experience more joy, happiness, and fulfillment through following and sharing the Health Up. Well, not the Health Up, the Joyful Mate podcast. Bit of confusion there for myself, running two podcasts. Anyway, if you haven't explored the Health Up podcast, explore that, but continue to listen. And thank you for following the Joyful Mate podcast.